if you blink right now, you will miss something happening on the XRP ledger. The last couple months have been absolutely massive for XRP. And no, I'm not talking about price action because, well, let's just be honest here. Price action has been pretty rough. And it has been rough since about roughly January because, well, let's just be real. There hasn't been a lot of growth happening around Bitcoin. And I know that that sounds strange, right? We're talking about XRP. Why are we talking about Bitcoin? Well, it's because we are in a Bitcoin season. It's all about Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance is at 65%. So, right now, we just really kind of follow what Bitcoin is doing. But this is technically good. And the reason why is because right now, with all of these things happening around the XRP ledger and XRP, the number one question we all have is, why isn't XRP pumping because of all of this news? Well, it's because we're still tied to Bitcoin. But the good news is that if we're asking that question, that means that XRP should be pumping, which also means that pressure is building behind the scenes. And when we finally start to have that nice upward swing on Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance drop, XRP is going to skyrocket. But first, let's actually go over a few things on exactly why this is the case. Now, before I jump on in, I do have to say, now is the best time to be a part of the free Discord. Obviously, yes, there is a paid side, and if you guys do join the paid side, I'm telling you right now, you won't regret it. Obviously, choice is up to you, but there's going to be a link down in the description below where you guys can join up, and you won't regret joining. So with that being said, let's dive on it. So the first major update was obviously Ondo's OUSG. Now, this was announced back in January, okay? But tokenized US treasuries are now live on the XRP ledger. Ondo Finance's OUSG, backed by BlackRock's Build Fund, unlocks 24/7 institutional access, mintable and redeemable using RLUSD. This is a new era for on-chain finance. And yeah, this is awesome. And in fact, this is now being tracked on the rwa.xyz website. We could see that there is a nice almost 9% push to the upside around RWA value. And also, if we scroll down, we could see that Ondo now has $10 million tied to the XRP ledger. And this is a very big change considering the fact that the other day I was actually talking about this, there was only about $1,500 on the XRP ledger. So we're starting to see a lot of this money flowing in now, and we're starting to see more and more money issued out on the XRP ledger around tokenized value. This is great to see. Now, when we think about Ondo, obviously Ondo is a giant. If we actually click Ondo here, right, they have $2.68 billion in terms of total value tied to them. And if we actually go over here to US treasuries, we know Ondo is technically number one because, let's just be real here, securitized, we can't buy securitized stock. Okay, we can't buy, a securitized token. So Ondo is technically number one in terms of the top entities here, but they have almost $4 billion tied to the network just around tokenized treasuries. So Ondo is a stacked giant. And if we're actually looking at the market overview right now, we're at about $23.5 billion in terms of total RWA value. And we could actually scroll down and see all of the assets. Obviously, Ondo is at, number 5. But they have been growing. Listen, OUSG, if we actually look at OUSG, this thing is up 27.5% in the last 30 days. And it's been growing substantially. And now we, of course, do have the XRP ledger here compared to Solana and Ethereum. It's actually larger than Polygon because Polygon has zero value tied to it. But, I think that when we think about XRP and, all of these big moves, we're still early, right? We're still in the beginning stages of this. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time before I, try to look at this and say, oh, well, there's only $137 million tied to the XRP ledger. When are we going to start to see more and more money tied to this? But I do think that we will, get there. And by the way, this actually did jump because we were at 127 million, but we could actually see that this jumped because of the Guggenheim Treasury Services, DCP. That's now also at $10 million. So again, it's actually up 17.6% instead of the original almost 9% that I was talking about. So again, you can see it even live that, things are starting to change around the XRP ledger. But when I think about Ondo, I also think about the Wall Street 2.0 push, which is now also happening with, of course, Ripple. Because again, Ripple is tied to Ondo in a big way through these initiatives. And even more recently, Ripple XDev did put out a video with Ondo Finance's Nathan, which, by the way, Nathan is the CEO of Ondo Finance, if you guys didn't know. And we have tokenized treasuries, real commercial utility, on-chain access. Nathan shares why OUSG on the XRP ledger settled seamlessly with ROUSD is a milestone for institutions. This is how tokenization goes mainstream. Now, I do have this, at 1.25x. This is to get around YouTube's copyright, nonsense, because they will mute this video. So hopefully they don't mute this. If they do, I do apologize, but check it out.
It is fascinating how cyclical and wave-like markets can be.
So yeah, when we actually think about what's happening here, right? This is just the beginning of the tokenization tsunami that's happening, right? Like, this is no longer a game of, oh yeah, let's speculate on if, this is going to happen, or, let's think about 5 or 10 years down the road. No, this is happening now. Tokenization is here. We could see that. We could track it. We have the numbers in front of us. And by the way, I don't think that I need to tell you guys that this has been in an upward trajectory for the last roughly 6-12 months. And it's non-stop growth. Almost every single day, we see another big announcement around tokenization. And what's crazy about this is, yeah, this is happening on the XRP ledger. It's happening on a lot of these great, utility-based project networks, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be happening on meme coins. It's not going to be happening on Bitcoin. Okay? But on top of this, at XRP Apex, we also heard about a few things happening. In fact, we heard from Ondo Finance's Ian Debode, gradually then suddenly, have we already reached the inflection point for tokenization? And he was actually speaking with Monica Long on the XRP Ledger main stage at Apex 2025 to unpack what's next as markets move on chain. By the way, yes, this is also at 1.25x speed because there is music.
What do you think it is about this time? Like this year, last year, when would you mark the real turning point, and what were the drivers of it? We are finally at a point where the regulatory clarity is starting to emerge. And I would argue that if you just look at the numbers, tokenization is already scaling. You're really starting to see that inflection point and hockey stick moment, first in cash, now in treasuries. And a big question is, what's next? Is it going to be real estate, private equity? We believe that the assets that make most sense to tokenize really is stuff that people really want and is already liquid. So like publicly listed stocks and ETFs. But I would argue tokenization is here and now.
So yeah, we are at that point where, it's starting to pick up in a big way. And even over here, we have the future is interoperable. USDC is on the XRP ledger as well. Again, this is going to accelerate DeFi and institutional adoption. And this is one of the most liquid stablecoins. So now we're also going to start to see even more tokenization endeavors announced on the XRP ledger. And this is all happening, over the last couple weeks. Here we have from Circle, USDC is now live on the XRP ledger. With the launch of native USDC on the XRP ledger, developers, institutions, and users gain the support of the world's largest regulated stablecoin. Enterprise B2B payments use USDC for global money movement and improve capital efficiency across borders. DeFi liquidity provisioning, USDC can be used by market makers to bootstrap liquidity for token pairs and FX flows. Financial infrastructure apps, custodians, wallets, and fintech platforms can integrate USDC to offer faster, more transparent settlement options. USDC is a trusted digital dollar powering innovation in payments, DeFi, and global finance. With the addition of the XRP ledger, USDC is now supported natively on 22 blockchains. You know what's crazy about this? I remember everyone saying that, USDC was going to kill RLUSD because Circle Payments Network was announced. No, now we're starting to see a much bigger picture here. These are all working together. And by the way, USDC being added to the XRP ledger is not the only stablecoin in the last couple, weeks and months added. We also have over here 3 new stablecoins: EURP, USDB, XSGD, and then also we have BBRL. So we're now at 5 or even 6 plus stablecoins added to the XRP ledger. Of course, if we're bringing in USV. Guys, the announcements happening around the XRP ledger, it is insane. This is why I keep telling you guys that, tokenization, stablecoins, all of these things, it's a slow growth point, and then we get to that point where it's just upward trajectory. We're at that point for stablecoins. We're at that point for tokenization. We are getting close to the price action side of this. And I'm very excited about that. And I do want to give a big shout out to Anderson for this, because we have so much is happening on the XRP ledger right now that it's getting hard to keep up. Just look at the last couple of days. And yeah, when we look at this, right, Trident Digital Holdings, okay, they plan to raise $500 million to establish a corporate XRP treasury. They will raise capital through equity issuance, strategic placements, and structured financing. Initial rollout of the XRP ledger treasury is planned for the second half of 2025. We also have, of course, Circle adding USDC to the XRP ledger. Then we also have Ondo with OUSG. And then, of course, yes, we have Guggenheim, a major US investment firm, taps Ripple's XRP ledger to offer tokenized commercial paper. When we start to see these types of things, all of this is happening in just the last few months. And I want you guys to realize that this is all pressure building up behind XRP. This is why XRP is going to skyrocket. We don't have an exact, time frame on this, but I do believe that it's going to happen in 2025. This is why I'm focused on all of these big updates. This is why I still focus on fundamentals, because fundamentals will eventually lead to price action. We just have to get through the storm and the boringness and the chop. But I'm telling you guys, what waits for us on the other side is going to be worth it. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because I'm free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.